Hello, everyone, and welcome to your December edition of Playdate. This is our monthly podcast where we talk about what we've been playing. Today on the show, I have John and Tim with me. Say hi, guys.
Yo.
Hello.
So this is the first podcast we've had since the next-gen consoles have released. I don't have mine yet, which I might explain in a bit. But first of all, I want you guys to sort of give me your initial impressions. You've had some times with your respective consoles for a while. Tim, let's start with you. What has been your overall impression of the PS5 so far?
So with us in the position we're in, I'm glad to have it as far as like being on the up and up about what's going on with the next gen. But for like the average consumer, I don't know that I would say it's like a worthwhile purchase yet at the moment, just because there are very few titles that are going to take advantage of everything that next gen has to offer, especially with PlayStation 5 and the haptic feedback in the controller.
Mm-hmm. For now, the benchmark that most people seem to be using instead of like these brand new graphics is backwards compatibility and seeing old games run almost how they were intended with 60 FPS and the full capability of this new hardware. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people have just been using this chance to like catch up on either games they've missed or games or they need to give a second try with this 60 FPS boost mode. So yeah, what? Just give us a taste. What have you been playing so far?
So initial plays were, so as you've seen, I already platinumed Astro's Playroom. Mm-hmm. And that was just a solid and fun experience all around. It's an amazing showcase of what the PlayStation 5 is capable of. Past that, I already beat Miles Morales. It's a short game, which I think most people were expecting. I even like showed it off to my nephews, and my youngest nephew was actually able to tell the difference. Like, there is a tangible difference, both graphically and in terms of like how it feels to play it, between playing Spider-Man in 30 FPS and 60 FPS. It's an extremely tangible difference.
Yeah. So John, you've had a chance to dabble and dip your toe into both of these next-gen systems. How does the Xbox Series X stack up then against the PlayStation 5?
I like them both. I think, excuse me, for me, the Xbox is missing just a little bit. I think I'm leaning a little more to the PlayStation 5 than the Xbox, mainly because PlayStation, they really went next gen on this thing. Like, between the design of the console, the experience of the user interface and stuff like that, I lean a little more toward PlayStation. But when it stacks up like Xbox, I still like my Xbox. I understand how it works because the UI didn't change at all. And they've given me a lot more like things I can do within the UI to kind of fix it up. So it's been pretty fun to jump back into Assassin's Creed in maybe 20 seconds and then flip over to something like Tetris Connect or Tetris Effect Connected in another 5. So flipping back and forth has been actually a lot of fun. And I like the controller of the Xbox just a little bit more, but not by much. And it's weird because they shrunk it just a little bit, and I've got giant hands. But again, the Xbox kind of turned into, hey, what we have. This is what we're doing. It's familiar, and just go play your games. So I've actually really, really liked playing a lot of my games on the Xbox.
Yeah, that sort of feeling of the Xbox being familiar, I always thought was a downside of the Series X, that it didn't feel next gen.
Mm.
And I've heard a lot of people saying that the PS5 does what it can to make it feel like it's the next evolution of the platform. But I think it was a Reddit post recently where someone who had an Xbox 360 and then moved on to PS4 later, and then finally deciding to go back to Xbox with Series X, they were amazed at how everything just felt like he never
left. Yeah.
And he said, like, South Park Stick of Truth was there, ready to go from when he put it down 7 years ago. That was the last game he played. Everything felt familiar, and he said it was just an awesome feeling, like almost like you haven't been to your hometown in a long time and everyone still knows your name, and it's like an episode of Cheers. That's basically what I'm describing.
And if you think about it too, like we can all say that these consoles are pushing the boundaries of being closer to PCs. I mean, Windows really has not changed.
Showcase of that.
Yeah, Windows has not changed in a bit. Everyone always buys an Apple laptop because they understand the Apple ecosystem and how it works. So, I mean, Xbox kind of really turned into that idea and was like, hey, it works. You know what it is. Here you go. Have fun with it. And what's funny is I've talked to people who've PlayStation diehard fans, and they absolutely hate the PlayStation 5 UI. They don't understand, like, since they changed, like, say, the button, because it took me a second to figure out that you just tap the PlayStation button. That's how you can turn it off instead of the long press. And I've had people going, I hate that. It is not how I remember it. And I've got to relearn how this new interface works, which, I mean, it makes sense. So there's kind of that weird who did it better concept of Xbox, tried and true, here you go, or brand new and relearn everything.
I think I do think PlayStation could have benefited from some maintaining of old UI concepts from the PS4. I definitely think they could have maintained some better.
Okay.
I mean, that being said, though, I love the UI of the PlayStation. I actually find it a lot simpler than the one for the PlayStation 4. I hate the PlayStation 4 UI. Like, I cannot stand
until you're looking for your media gallery.
Oh, that was I figured out how to do that real fast. And that's the thing. Like, we have a PlayStation 4 in our front room, and jumping back and forth between the 4 and the 5, it literally pains me because it's so easy to find, like, our media apps on the PlayStation 5 instead of going into a folder, into another folder, and then finding Netflix.
Oh, for me, I actually had to look up where to find the media gallery because, like, all of my games just loaded onto my PS5 first. Yeah. So, like, that just was gone when I went to look for it. And I was like, okay, where is this? And it's like, oh, you have to go to your other applications. Mm-hmm. And it's not like in the general list of applications, you have to go to this, like, specifically to the installed category and then find it in there. And it's like, okay, I don't think I should have had to look that up.
Does anyone miss themes from the PS4 on their PS5 yet?
Nope.
Yeah. You don't?
No. I did not put themes on there. The only time my themes got put on there was when Rose was playing my PlayStation, and she goes, "You're still using the base theme?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like it. It's fine. I'm not here to look at I'm not here to look at that. I'm here to play a game. So let me jump into that." So if I have themes on my PlayStation 4, it's because Rose jumped on my PlayStation and was like, "I'm changing everything." That's fine. But yeah, I like
for
how.
Me,
okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for me, like, it's for games that I really enjoy, especially the soundtracks for. So, like, Persona 5 Royal, Kingdom Hearts, and, like, Final Fantasy 7. Those themes all hit really hard for me because they take good music from games that I like, and at least two of those actually change all of the menu UI sounds, like all of the little tiny movements of the cursor to ones from the game.
See, I'm different. I like that between, like, Spider-Man and then Spider-Man Miles Morales, I get a nice little splash screen on the background and the music changes on that one. I think that's great. I want that to stay. But weirdly for me, if I like it actually, I hate saying it, like, it oogs me out if, let's say, I have a control overlay on my PlayStation 4, but then I'm trying to go through and actually play Tetris. I'll come back to Tetris. Something about that just doesn't click with me in my head. But if I can see something pop up, here's Spider-Man, here's some music from Spider-Man, here's Bugsnax, here's some music from Bugsnax, there's, to me, a better connection to that game than, oh, I like my Kingdom Hearts stuff back there, but then I'm about to play Bugsnax. I'm weird like that. I never really liked that dissonance when it comes to the console and how I want to connect with the games.
So I understand where you're coming from on that, and I would agree with you if the PlayStation 5 was consistent about it. Because if I remember correctly, I don't think Bugsnax actually plays anything when you mouse over it. Like,
that was a super huge disappointment for me. We were doing that next gen launch party stream, and I saw that John had, like, Miles Morales open and it was playing, like, the music, and I was like, oh yeah, Bugsnax right there, scroll over, John, and it just didn't. And I was like, come on,
yeah,
man.
I think it just had like ambient sound. It didn't even play the music, or I mean, it would have been great if it played the actual theme song, but I don't know if you could do that rights wise.
Yeah, for me, that's like where all of that comes in is like Borderlands 3, Warframe, Bugsnax. Like, there's a number of games that I've thrown in that just like are dead fish. Whereas the games that do actually play something are pretty few and far between. Like, I think of everything I've put into my PS5, it's only been Demon's Souls, Miles Morales, and DMC5 SE that have like music that plays when you scroll over them.
Every time you guys boot up your PS5 or Xbox Series X for that matter, does it like, and I know the whole point of this gen is to like quickly get back into your games and have no overhead, but I always loved the design of console startup sounds and screens, and like there was something beautiful about the PS4 and it was just a black screen with the PlayStation logo in the middle. I was like, this screen is going to last 30 seconds, but I don't care because it's getting me in the mood. And I feel like, you know, when you have this sort of quick resume feature and just like your console's technically always on standby, I just feel like you lose some of that fanfare. I don't know if I'm crazy in that regard.
That's still there on the PlayStation 5.
Okay.
I miss that. Like, I personally don't see that screen most of the time though, because just for the sake of simplicity and ease of use of my overall setup, I play my consoles off of my OBS stream, essentially. Like, I'll open OBS, put up a full screen preview, and play my games off of that so that I don't have to switch inputs on my monitor. Because the Elgato HD60S is, you know, just completely lagless in terms of what it puts through to the screen. So because of that, I'll hit like the button on my controller and my PlayStation will turn on, and then I'll go open OBS. And so it takes longer for OBS to open than it does for my PlayStation to start up.
Very funny.
Yeah, I get it all the time because I put Rose's account on the PlayStation 5 as well. So I get that crescendo of music for the PlayStation 5, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, the startup sound is great.
Yeah, there's something about next gen where you just want it to feel like a big deal, and unboxing it and plugging it in and hearing that startup sound is great. But possibly more important about that is what game is the first game you choose to play in this thing. And I think for a lot of people, it'll be Spider-Man Miles Morales this time around. So Tim, you mentioned a little bit of your impressions of it, but let's start with you since we were talking a little bit about it last podcast. How far you've platinum Miles Morales?
Not platinum yet. Yeah, I beat it, but I've also beaten like a wide majority of it. The only reason I haven't gone through and completely beaten it is because I decided to play through it with my brother. So I'm literally just waiting to sit back down and play through like the last few side missions with him.
Yeah. So how was that experience for you? Was that the first game you played for the PS5 or?
First was Astros because I wanted it as a showcase.
Yeah. So how's Miles Morales been so far? Especially like how does it compare to PS4 Spider-Man?
So I went back with my nephew because he never got to play the original. So after I beat Miles Morales, I was over there watching my nephew, and so I let him play through the original. And as I was watching, I was just sitting there remembering, oh, I could have done X thing in Miles Morales if I had like the legacy knowledge from a more recent playthrough of Spider-Man, but I hadn't played Spider-Man in forever. And they actually like, I feel like they forget to mention quite a few things that you can do in Miles Morales. But they also don't have like the same gadget variety and whatnot. Like, it's still a fun game, and I think Miles is a better playable character in terms of his like raw combat ability, but he doesn't have like what would be the word? Like he's not as adaptive as Peter is.
Okay. In terms of swinging then, swinging through the city, the general consensus being that Spider-Man PS4 felt amazing in that regard. Is it? Do they take an attitude with Miles Morales where it's like don't fix what's not broken, or is there some iterations on that?
There's some iteration that is only possible with Miles as a character because of his Venom power. So basically, you remember the meter that they had in the original Spider-Man game that was like for healing and doing finishers and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So that in this game has been turned into a Venom meter for Miles, so that like bioelectric ability that he has. Mm-hmm. So as you're fighting in combat and as you like dodge attacks and all that kind of stuff, that meter fills. But it's also not only used in combat, you can use it to either dash through the air or get some extra height while you're swinging. And you can refill it while swinging by doing the tricks in air as Miles. So they added some more functionality to like being a little more flashy with your swinging, which fits Miles and his aesthetic.
Yeah.
Past that, the adaptive triggers also get tension when you bottom out on the swing, and they'll release that tension if you go all the way through the swing to the point that Miles disconnects naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So they've definitely done some cool stuff with it.
John, you've been playing this game on stream, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
How's that been for you playing through it in little chunks?
I loved it because I jumped in Astro's Playroom, but I took that TIm approach where I was like, you know what, I need to figure out and kind of put myself back into the game. So I played the remastered version of Spider-Man for a little bit just to kind of get my muscle memory back. And right when I jumped into Miles Morales, it was just right there. Like just playing maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes of Spider-Man got me ready to play Miles Morales. And I absolutely loved it. Everyone watching was an absolute fan, especially since we were able to get the Into the Spider-Verse outfit, the costume. So that was great. I like Miles Morales a lot better than Spider-Man just because of like he feels so much better. I put the PlayStation 5 in the performance mode. So I had the solid 60 the entire time, and good Lord, that felt great. Just to see how smooth it actually was. I liked the little animations of Miles as he was swinging, because you could tell he's not fully aware of what he can do. So just the little hints of kind of swaying off just a little bit when he's swinging or not being as acrobatic, I actually really, really loved. I beat the game. It was short, which we all expected. It was even shorter than I expected because I beat it in 3 sittings, which is not something I usually do. But up and down, I absolutely loved it. I loved the Venom powers that were added, and the story was freaking solid. I wanted more of that story. I would have loved to spend 20, 30 hours in that game.
One of the things as someone who doesn't care for superheroes generally, I don't care about the MCU, and that's like it's just a thing for me. I can never get into those movies or whatever. Spider-Man has always been the coolest superhero in my eyes and the one I've gravitated towards the most. And for me, Miles's version of Spider-Man is the coolest version of Spider-Man. Yeah. So one of the things I was really excited for in the build up to this release was how much they leaned into Miles's character in terms of, just generally the vibes, the soundtrack, how he was animated and how that would all mix into gameplay. And you both mentioned like little things, how, doing tricks in the air will help you fill up meters and just little things that makes you notice. But like how, in terms of both story and gameplay, how much do they lean into Miles Morales as a character and make him feel different from Peter Parker?
I say they do it all the way. I mean, yeah, because I like that they really made you feel Miles as a character first. They did exactly what they did in the first Spider-Man, where you were Peter first and then you were Spider-Man. And this one, it was a very nice balance of, well, you're Spider-Man because Pete's doing something. I'm not going to spoil it. And you got a good flavor of him as Spider-Man with his quirkiness and still trying to figure it out. with the balance of his home life with his friends and his mom and his uncle. It was great. Like just how well they fully leaned into making sure you knew Miles was Miles. It's a different game. It's a different feeling. And this is where it is. Go have fun being Spider-Man.
And I will say they make sure to drive home the point, and it's expected with his inexperience, that while Miles is objectively a more powerful Spider-Man because he physically has more that he can do than Peter, they drive home the point that he is not better at the job.
Yeah, still like learning on the job. Like there were a couple scenes or a couple side missions. They were like, "Who are you? You're not Spider-Man." And it was like, "No, I'm the new guy." And they're like, "Okay, well, if you can do this, this is cool. Thank you." And then when you do the side mission, they come back and they really they drove down the point of you're our Spider-Man at a one mission, and I freaking loved that one mission where they're like, "No, you're our Spider-Man, and thank you."
I can't remember if it's been overtaken since, but definitely at the time, Spider-Man PS4 was the fastest selling exclusive for that console of all time. And you mentioned, John, that this felt shorter than you were initially expecting. And so I always think of Miles Morales as not like a sequel to Spider-Man, but more of a Uncharted, was it Among Thieves?
Legacy?
The Lost Legacy.
Lost Legacy, yeah. That they did. It's sort of a shorter or maybe a little bit cheaper way of, getting more of an experience out of that big franchise.
I think the words you're looking for are a long DLC.
Right. Sort of more than a standalone DLC, less than the game. How do you guys feel about Sony doing something similar with some of their other IPs moving forward? Maybe like, I don't know, Horizon, that's a 30-hour experience instead of 50 hours. Or
we just find out that God of War Ragnarok isn't even a full game.
Yeah, it's just like a side story or something. But I feel like that's a really good way, and especially in an era where, games are not only fighting for your wallet, but fighting for your time. It's really refreshing to be able to jump into an experience that, like, okay, I know this is going to be 20 hours. Yeah. I don't have to worry about it, and I can move on after it.
I would be down.
Yeah, I really value those games that sort of value your time. Yeah,
and you know what the best part of that is with Miles Morales?
What is it?
You're looking at a AAA studio that actually relatively accurately valued that investment in terms of time and money.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did not make you spend $70 on that game unless you wanted the remaster with it. Because what was it otherwise? Was it 40?
50.
Or was it 50?
Yeah, 50, yeah. Would have been 40 in the old system, but now we're in a whole new generation, baby.
Okay. So $10 less than old game prices, $20 less than current AAA game prices. So if AAA companies know how to adjust for value like that, then I think that that's a relatively stable way to not just inject some new experiences for your players, but to also recoup some costs, because there is very much new assets in Miles Morales, but there's also very much still some asset flipping, which I don't have a problem with as long as it's done well.
Well, also, it's too, if you can give me a tighter, better story in 10 to 20 hours, I'm good with that. And I'll spend the money on that one, because to me, this is kind of like the HBO, Netflix concept of telling a story now, or even BBC, where it's 3 to 10 episodes for a season. There's none of that filler episodes like you would get on the CW or anything like that, where a season's 23 episodes long. I think if developers decided to go take that route, I think you'd get a lot more happy customers, a lot more returning players, and an easier, lower barrier of entry into games if it's not a 60-hour game that you have to jump into, because that's daunting for a lot of people, especially people who are new to gaming. But if I can tell you, you have a great, fantastic experience playing Miles Morales at 9.5, 10 hours, you're going to have a blast with it. That's an easier sell for anyone.
one of the things that I noticed a lot with Spider-Man PS4 was that it was a lot of people's first platinum. I don't know if you guys are interested in that, John. I know generally you're not a platinum guy.
I respect it, not my thing.
But I was interested when they were showing off the PS5 initially, the features where you could, I forget what they call it, like the deck or something.
Yeah.
Where you could just quickly go into a mission. You could say, hey, this mission takes 3 minutes to do. And you've like done this percentage of it. You can quickly jump into it right now with the press of the button rather than swing across the map if you want. Did you guys like try any of that at all, or do you think that at some point you might platinum Miles Morales?
So I haven't gotten much use out of that system yet, though I do plan to platinum Miles Morales. I don't know if it's just because even then with Astros, there was some stuff that I had to look up, but I didn't end up using... I couldn't find any like guides within the trophy system for Astro. I ended up looking a lot of that stuff up just online like I used to. So maybe that's force of habit, or maybe that's just like they didn't have anything for Astro, but I'll have to look into that for Miles Morales.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool. Because again, it goes back to that time thing of like, if you keep on going the way you're going, it's going to take you like 12 minutes to get this trophy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, for me as a platinum hunter, it just seems super nice that I can just go through a list and tick off boxes almost, because that's the rush I get from platinum in a game anyway, is just ticking off boxes. Love it. And maybe not in something like Miles Morales where you enjoy swinging from place to place, but it's something like maybe Valhalla, which we'll get to in a bit. That would be super nice to just like mission, just like get me there already, you know? So I'm excited for that.
So I can actually tell you a trophy, and I think I tried to look for this in the PlayStation 5's system, but I ended up having to look it up online, which is there's an achievement called No on Astro's Playroom, which is for falling a certain number of feet down the cliffside when you're wearing the monkey suit, and then catching yourself at like the bottom of that distance. So it's an Uncharted reference, and the trophy even has like the Uncharted cover art, but it's an Astrobot.
Nice.
That's awesome.
But I could not find like a good spot to do that where I could get that kind of distance to fall. And I don't think I found that information in the actual trophy list, but I did find it online. So once again, maybe that's just Astro. Maybe that was just me not knowing how to use the system yet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's maybe something I would like to see in an update, and maybe it's like a setting you can toggle on or off if you don't want like spoilers or anything, but I want a thing where if I'm going through a game and there's a missable trophy up ahead, the game like alerts me. Like, just don't miss this thing. That would be super, super nice, so I don't have to always look that up and potentially get spoiled online. But
most games are pretty good about like not having missable trophies nowadays, unless you're playing JRPGs.
Bugsnax had it wasn't easy to miss, but there were missable trophies in Bugsnax. Speaking of which, it's time. It's finally here. It's time to talk about Bugsnax. I played this on PC actually, so it'll be cool to see if there's any differences between that and the PS5 version. This is a game where I think that, and I mentioned this in the review I'm writing, by the way, but I love when you're in a new generation and there's not a whole lot to play. And Sony, I think, are really good at this, where they sort of spotlight a weird or small or otherwise like a game that wouldn't probably make it at the middle to late life cycle of the PS4. And I feel like they did it with the PS4 with Resogun. Like for a good few weeks to a month, there was nothing else to play other than Resogun and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And that was the best, because I got really good at Resogun. That was a great game. And I feel like with this time, when they were doing that showcase for the PS5, where they showed off all the games, I think definitely the big talking point coming out of that was Bugsnax. It was super, super good. Again, I was super happy with what I played. I beat it, but I was super happy that it went all in on the weirdness, man. It was just a weird game that you don't usually see. And yeah, John, you've beat it as well also, right? Or you're close to beating it,
Yeah, I'm pretty close to beating it. Let's say I'm going back up a mountain is what I'm doing right now.
Oh, okay. All right. The one thing that stuck out to me, and they were sort of giving off this vibe in the trailer, but you definitely feel it more when you're in the game, is this underlying sense that something's wrong with this.
Yes.
When you feed these people snacks and they turn into stuff and they're just like all nonchalant about it, and how much they are addicted to these Bugsnax, you're just like, I don't know how I feel about this. And they're just little breadcrumbs placed all over. And I was going in with this mentality that at some point, a switch is going to get flipped.
Yeah.
And this game's going to become something entirely different. And without spoiling it, I don't feel like it's that. It doesn't turn into like a horror game or anything.
No, but it gets pretty dang close with one character.
It does, yeah.
And I liked that, actually.
Well, and I will say there is some pretty horrifying context that pops up even with I'm not very far in the game. I'm in the desert. I think I just got Triffany back to Snacksburg.
Uh-huh.
And when you're doing stuff for Triffany, like if you're one to pick up on context clues, you're like, oh, okay, so that was a thing historically.
Yeah, some characters give a lot of cool exposition like that.
Yeah.
But like, no, I was super sure that at some point this game was going to turn into something else. And as I played more and as I beat the game, I was actually glad that it didn't do that. I'm glad it didn't do the thing where, I'm bamboozled, I'm hoodwinked, and it's like, haha, we got you. We're like a different type of game. No, I was super glad that they went all in with this concept from start to finish. And yeah, you mentioned that the point of the game is to get these grumpuses, these villagers back to this central town of Snacksburg on this island. And it was super cool to interact with them on a one-on-one basis. I think as you start to populate the town more, it's super cool that how well designed this little place is, right? They're just little interactions in town. Like you have Wambus and Gramble living across the street from each other, and they have completely opposing moral philosophies when it comes to the Bugsnax. One wants to grow them and harvest them and just like eat them all day. The other is completely opposed to ever eating the Bugsnax and just wants them as pets. And every time you walk by that street, they're just arguing and stuff. And then, like, if you just explore yourself, you can get like some cool little details about each villager and what their past was and what they're doing, and what their motivations are. But I just loved exploring this world. And I think what ties it all together is that this game would be a total flop if the catching of the bugs wasn't a fun experience. I'm super glad that the whole way through, I never got bored catching Bugsnax. They give you a good variety of tools and like a good variety of enemy types. There are some copy pastes and just like different skins of snacks other places, but it never felt like it overstayed its welcome in terms of doing these tasks, which were essentially the whole game is fetch quests, but the fetching is fun, which is important.
Yeah, I hate to
because you have to come up with unique solutions to each problem.
Right.
Yeah. I hate to admit it. It took me a couple hours before I registered. I had just a net that I could just, if a Bugsnax was knocked out, I could just walk up to it and grab it.
Uh-huh.
Because I kept on throwing the trap, and I was like, all right, I got it. Then all of a sudden, I just got a little overzealous in one, and I was like, oh, let me go grab something real fast. And as I grabbed something next to it, my net came out, and I caught it. I was like, oh, that's a thing. Crap, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I went into an area and I started catching Bugsnax even if no one told me to, because I just wanted to try it for a while. And there was an area I went into where I got a specific tool and I started using it. I was just like, I was having trouble with it and it wasn't really working how I expected it to work. And then as you continue the quest line for the one character that gives you that specific tool, they teach you, like, there are other nifty things this thing can do. And I was like so mad. I was like, why didn't you tell me that from the start? You know, I could do this is so much easier now that I understand this thing. But no, interacting with each Grumpus was cool. They all have very neat personalities. I just love how colorful the world is. Oh, it was great.
All right, without spoilers, Finn, who is your favorite Grumpus?
I have 3.
Okay.
And I can't pick between the 2. I was thinking about this question because I for some reason I knew you were going to ask. I am stuck between Beffica, Cromdo, and Chandlo. They each have things for me that I'm just like, I am all in with you right now. I think it might be Beffica if I had to choose one. Because I love her missions where I'm just like snooping about the town, finding stuff, finding little secrets. Mm-hmm. I loved those missions. One of the things as well that stuck out to me was the thought and care that went into the designs of the snacks themselves.
Yeah.
And how it felt like Gen 1 Pokemon. It was super cool seeing how unique these little things were and how they all interacted with each other and figuring out their names and what their traits were. And yeah, like Pokemon of late has sort of gotten a little bit lazy, but it was cool to just inhabit this world again and just, yeah, it feels like what I sort of always wanted a Pokemon game to be rather than a 100-hour long RPG. I would love if this was just the model for Pokemon going forward. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No, actually, I never thought about it that way. But yeah, I had the same reaction because I still love the 151. I grew up on red and blue and yellow, and so playing Bugsnax actually had that same idea. And what was cool with the PlayStation 5 is with that little speaker went in there, when we caught a snack, it would say its name in the speaker of the controller. And something about that I absolutely loved because it was that new feeling of here's a Pokemon-esque style game, but they're snacks. And like you get the sandwich that is a centipede and they're just sandwiches stuck together. And there's something, you're right. It's super charming. I really, really enjoy this game so far. I think we'll probably beat it in the next couple days or something like that. My favorite character has to be Chandlo. I love that dude. God, I love that dude so much.
Awesome.
Oh my God, he wore, like when we met him, I was like, I don't know if I like him, and then 5 minutes later, like, this guy is the best. I love the message. I will fight for you, Chandlo.
That's the thing I love is that with the characters and with the Bugsnax, that's the thing where it's like the voice acting is super, super good.
On point.
I think that's important for both the audio design of catching the snacks and in terms of characters. Like, I was super glad in this game that it never undersold itself. Mm-hmm. It never thought, hey, we're just a silly, dumb game, so we get to have silly, dumb characters that don't have like real feelings. There are moments, this game is not afraid to just like tell a really captivating story that would be super serious or super heartfelt if it was just like a normal human talking.
Yeah.
And it's not, it doesn't deteriorate from the fact that they're like dumb Muppets. And it's just like, it's this weird dichotomy in your head where it's like, you look silly, but also this is really emotionally investing.
You mean like the Muppets movie?
Yes. Well, again, Muppets, yeah, they can do serious, heartfelt moments for sure. And so I was glad this game didn't, this game took 6 years to make. It's been 6 years since Young Horses released Octodad. I think maybe even more. But yeah, I'm super glad how well thought out every layer of this game is. And it's not the thing where it's like, it's going to be nominated for a bunch of Game of the Year awards. But for a 10-hour experience, I was smiling the whole time. And I'm pretty sure I couldn't have asked for anything more with this game.
By the way, did either of you play A Hat in Time?
Yeah, I loved A Hat in Time.
I tried, and it kept on frame stuttering and breaking on my PC.
That's unfortunate.
Sucks.
Get it on PlayStation because it's worth it.
Is it worth it on PlayStation? Okay.
Oh yeah.
But I don't necessarily have a favorite Grumpus, but the entire time every time that I interacted with Wiggle, I'm just like, you're just DJ Grooves. Like, you are just DJ Grooves from A Hat in Time.
Yeah, I guess. And that's weird to me, Tim, because Wiggle might have been my least favorite Bugsnax, and it never got to the point where I was super annoyed with her constant singing, but I was just like, all right, let's get on with it.
Oh yeah, well, and the whole thing in A Hat in Time is like, DJ Grooves is not supposed to be like a redeeming character at all. No. He's kind of just supposed to be a piece of shit. Him and the conductor both.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad you brought on A Hat in Time, because that's another thing I wanted to mention, is how this game felt nostalgic. We've talked before, Tim, about how, open world game design has been...
scope.
Again, we go back to, the scope of the thing is just too big, and it's like you can't notice every detail. But we would prefer worlds where it's dense and packed with cool stuff to find. I got that impression with Bugsnax. It felt like old school open world, like PS2, PS1 open worlds. And it was super cool, just like, I know the extent of this world. It's tangible to me, and I can walk from, one end to the other in about 5 minutes.
Well, so you know what's even funnier about that?
Mm-hmm.
So you say, like, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era open worlds. I think I mentioned this in one of our text chats in Playhouse. I never personally got to play the games, but even with no experience in the games, I immediately know exactly in what ways this game was inspired by Ape Escape.
I've never played Ape Escape either, but I've definitely heard that comparison being drawn. So, like, how would you compare the two?
It's just like the nature of using gadgets and having to figure out, like, almost like a puzzle, how to capture the various Bugsnax. And one reason people may be drawing that comparison is because the studio has directly stated that Ape Escape was a very large inspiration for how this game plays. Because it is very much like that kind of idea, because Ape Escape was all about, like, you've got to figure out how... Basically, you had, like, the one super intelligent monkey that was controlling all of the monkey drones, essentially. And you had to figure out how to get to and capture each individual monkey to complete the game.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think I love, is that the simplicity of catching the Bugsnax, and I feel like this game is just beautiful at simplicity, but never lets the simplicity stop them from achieving whatever ambitions they had for specific parts of the game. So I was super happy with that experience, and shout out to Young Horses. It delivered on the hype. I think for months and months of seeing nothing else on my Twitter timeline but Bugsnax, and that's probably just because I follow Jean-Vive Saint-Onge from Pop Agenda, who was, like, marketing it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think the only stuff I've seen on my timeline personally for Bugsnax has been from you and Rose and the Playhouse Twitter.
Yeah. No, my timeline has been all Bugsnax for months, and I'm glad when I got there it wasn't diluted for me. No, I really love that game. You mentioned, John, as well, I forgot to talk about it, but you mentioned that whenever you caught a Bugsnax on the PS5, they said the name of the Bugsnax in the controller. Yeah, that's one of those things I didn't get to have because I was playing on PC. They just, like, it's just part of the game audio you get through your speakers. But yeah, that's a cool little thing. It's almost like you caught the Bugsnax in your controller. I like that. So now we will move on to a game that both of you played, but I've not. Demon's Souls remake by Bluepoint. John, let's start with you in this one, because I feel like I have an idea of your history with Souls type games. Did you play the original Demon's Souls back in the day, or was this your first run?
No, not back in the day. I beat Dark Souls 3 on stream a couple years ago, and I was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and jump into Demon's Souls. I had a PlayStation 3, and I went and picked up the game, and oh boy, I got my ass handed to me real fast. I had no idea what I was doing, and it was just kind of not as fun. Like, there's a good balance of hard and fun, and for me, it swayed to the hard to the point where it wasn't fun anymore, so I just kind of shelved it. And then when we when it got announced from Blue Point that we're getting it on the PlayStation 5, I instantly pre-ordered it, and I have been loving my time with it. And it does help that my sister's boyfriend loves this game. Like, he knows it backwards and forwards. I found this out while playing with him. So he's at a higher level than I am. So he actually took me to a world that gives you like one of the best weapons. And then we went back and just wrecked shop for 3 hours through like 3 of the worlds. And it was actually a fun time. Like, the game is so much more fun as a quote unquote multiplayer game.
I've always been an advocate that like FromSoft games are better as a multiplayer experience. Like Bloodborne, everything.
Yeah, we're going to get to a point where I'm at his level, and then we're going to keep on progressing the story together. So, like, I'll jump into his game, we'll beat a boss, and then we'll turn around and jump into my game and do the same thing. Like, it has been a real blast doing that. The game, my God, this game is gorgeous. Holy shit.
I forget. So, like, you said you played Dark Souls 3 a few years ago. I forget, was that around release, or did you play it well after release?
Oh, I played it well after release. I'll be honest, I've been very lucky on stream with the Soulsborne community, because I jumped into Bloodborne and I had people jumping into stream and they were like, oh no, you need to do this. Let's walk you through this. Like, they're one of the nicest communities, period.
So my friend and I, we get into Demon Souls, and like, all I could say is, holy shit, all of these hints are helpful. What?
Oh yeah. Oh dude, yeah, the hints from Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and Demon Souls, that seriously is one of the nicest, most helpful communities. I've heard people jump in and say like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, I bought this game, I heard it's good, and they're like, go to the subreddit or find this community, let them know, and you'll have people lined up ready to help you through this whole thing.
And I will say, I have run into the dickish hint every once in a while of like, hey, check like over this ledge, and it looks like it's a place where you could land, and then you jump off and you're like, oh, I'm dead.
Hell, I had that in stream. One of our regulars was like, hey, there's an Easter egg over here for Bloodborne. He goes, you just gotta go look at this spot. I was like, okay. It was a bomb. It was a trap bomb. I had no idea. And so I blew up and I was like, I hate you, man. Why'd you do that? And so now that's kind of the Easter egg is now kind of a thing over on Couch Capades.
So there's a big question that I have for you, and this ties into the question about if you played Dark Souls at launch. How is it for you playing a Souls game at launch with invasions?
I was fine. Like, I got invaded on both Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. So yeah, I actually
just
love
expect it to happen a lot more with this game because it's at its launch window.
Let's see. So far, I've only been invaded once on Dark Souls, and I think through Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, I got invaded like 8 times, maybe, and that's collectively. So like it's been pretty nice. I know Zach, that's my sister's boyfriend. He got invaded while I was watching his screen, because we did the picture-in-picture for both of us, so we can kind
love that. Oh, love that.
God,
feature.
That is so cool. And we were on a call, and I was like, let me see if I can see your picture while you're watching mine, so we can kind of talk to each other, because obviously we're in the same world, but items he doesn't see that are on my screen, but he remembers where the items are at. He goes, I think there's a guy just down to the left that should have an item for you. And it's there, and it is literally one of the coolest things. I know we were talking about spoilers or anything like that. What was really funny is that he took a picture of his loadout and his armor of his character and sent it to me on the PlayStation app. And when I finally got it, PlayStation, it popped up and was like, hey, this might be a spoiler for the game. Do you actually want to look at this? It was just like, it was different armor than what I had, which I found very interesting.
Cool. And so one reason you might not be getting invaded as much is how often are you in soul form?
That is a good question. I haven't played it in 2 weeks. I'll be absolutely honest. It's Thanksgiving week, dude. I have no idea. I once or twice. So yeah.
Because as long as you are in soul form, you cannot be invaded. It's only when you're back in your human form.
No. I was only in soul form for the first part of the game when I had to beat the first boss. then we could co-op together. But past then, I've been in human form the entire time.
Well, you have to be in soul form to be able to go into another person's world as well.
Yeah, I haven't jumped into his. He's jumped into mine. So yeah, I've been human form the entire time I've been playing, minus that first 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay. Another thing is, have you learned about the tendency system?
Yeah.
Have you been able to make use of it at all for opening world-specific paths?
No.
Very quick. Explain the tendency
it.
system for the layman such as me.
So, tendency in this game is there's two types. There's world tendency and there's character tendency, and it's basically like an alignment, whether that's to good or to evil. And it goes from pure black to pure white tendency. So, as a character, you improve your tendency by either going into other players' worlds and helping them defeat bosses, or by defeating invading black phantoms. You go closer to black tendency, you lower your tendency by doing things like invasions and killing other players and whatnot.
Got it.
As far as the tendency of a world, though, so because there's 5 worlds within Demon Souls that you visit from the central hub, the Nexus. And so each of those worlds has their own tendency, and that is reflected by your own actions as a player and also by the actions of the community as a whole. So you as a player, like, the more you die in your human form in a world, the darker the tendency gets. But then every time you log in, the tendency gradually shifts back towards what the median tendency is across the entire community.
Very cool. Like that.
And there are some routes and paths and items and just plenty of stuff within specific worlds that only, like, the paths to them only unlock if you have pure white or pure black tendency. And tendency also affects the difficulty of the game. So I had forgotten about this. I had heard about it a long time ago, but Demon Souls is a game that punishes you for doing badly. The more you die in your human form in a world, the harder the enemies in that world get. So the closer you get to black tendency, the harder enemies get, but also the more souls you get from beating them.
Neat. And so you're asking John about how he's been using the tendency so far in his playthrough.
Yeah, so have you been able to make any use out of that, John?
No, not yet. I know the first world, I know there's a little path to the left if you have a pure white tendency. I just haven't gone back to, like, really focus on the tendencies. Zach and I are just kind of almost trying to power through this bad boy.
Yeah, so, and it can be pure black or pure white. It was too hard for me to get the world to pure white tendency. So I just went in there a few times with the ephemeral eye gems and just went human, died, did that a couple times, unlocked that gate. The heaviest armor set in the game is in that gate.
Okay.
As well as a black phantom, a colorless soul, and the helmet for, like, the Blue Eye Knight set, which was not in the original game. That's another interesting thing. That I know of, there are at least 2 armor sets in this game that you can get that you could not get in the original. One is the Blue Eyed Knight, and the other is the Penetrator. And the interesting thing about the Penetrator is, I don't know if either of you saw this, but it blew up on Twitter like the first week the game came out of, guys, there's a door.
Oh, yeah,
and
I saw that.
the whole Souls community was like, what? A door? And do either of you know Blue Point's history with the Shadow of the Colossus remake?
As far as I know, they added small stuff or, like, canonized different things that the community had theorized. Is that right?
So long ago, the Shadow of the Colossus community got rolling with this idea of, like, it was either a lost colossi or like a really awesome item. Like, basically the Shadow of the Colossus community was convinced that there was a secret in the game that had clues strewn throughout the map in the different colossi and their different habitats with secret maps and encoded information and all of this kind of stuff. And they like it's like that picture of Charlie from Always Sunny where he's got all of the red strings on the map and everything.
Yeah.
Like it got to that level of people trying to put information together. And eventually, as technology advanced and we got to the era of emulation and cracking games open and all that kind of stuff, a guy got in and definitively proved that there was nothing to be found anywhere in the map by breaking boundaries and flying around the map and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then Bluepoint comes along and does the remaster, and they drop these coins throughout the world in spots that line up with some of these hints that the community had been looking into. And if you got like all of the coins and went to a specific location, it would open up a secret shrine that they had made with like an item that was there as a like tribute to the community and their effort.
Cool. Very, very cool.
And
Love
so
that. Love that.
So they brought those coins back in Demon Souls. And people were like, wait, what? These coins again? And so you can use these coins to open this door that was found. And it will give you the Penetrator armor, which was the one of the armors that could not be obtained before, and it's a boss armor.
So cool. Love stuff like that. Love when they breathe new life into these games, and Bluepoint is obviously one of the best in the biz with doing that.
I can't wait to see what their next project's going to be.
That I was going to ask you guys, if you want to do some speculation, what's next for Bluepoint? For me, my hope is something Metal Gear Solid related. But that's like pipe dream.
And what would make that even more interesting is you just put it in today in the news here in the Discord of like the rumors of Kojima coming back to work on Silent Hill again. Like
definite wild out there rumors. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But like, as a rumor, I don't think you could say anything that would get the like Konami community more like edge of their seat.
Yeah. It would have to, if like those two like dreams happened, the Silent Hill and the Bluepoint Metal Gear Solid, it would definitely require Konami being willing to get back into the space in gaming that they've been absent for a long time, and would also require some sort of partnership with Sony, both to work with Kojima and to work with Bluepoint.
Yeah. Though I'm trying to think of like what stuff from the like PlayStation 2 era, because I would think, well, I guess PlayStation 3 is pretty fair game
it's
at this
retro
point
now,
too.
dude.
Yeah.
Anything over 10 years is retro. Yeah.
God. There is a game that me and a few friends always talk about, which is an old PlayStation 1 RPG called Legend of Dragoon.
Right.
Because that was an SIE property. Like, that was a JRPG by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So, like, and just because it's SIE Japan, I know that Bluepoint has easy access to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that game is of the same generation as Final Fantasy VII for the most part. It is also a game that introduced concepts like what we would see, and I don't know which technically introduced it first, but it was one of the games to introduce concepts like what we saw in, Paper Mario games with what they called the addition system, which is it adds on to that traditional like JRPG turn-based experience by letting you add button inputs at timed intervals. And if you time it correctly, you get pretty good extra damage, and it gives you like something more to do than just play the turn-based aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So if they could, if Bluepoint could bring that game forward, either just as a JRPG with some improvements, or if they could go all the way as far as like a Final Fantasy VII remake style situation with it, it'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. John, I think I know what your number one hope would be.
Yeah.
With
and I was thinking about that. 'Cause I'll say it. I want Bloodborne. God damn, do I need Bloodborne? Give it to Bluepoint. Let me have 60 frames per second because I will live in that world forever. I freaking love that world. But I'm going to go outside the realm a little bit. I actually think it'd be really, really cool to get like an updated version of Wild Arms.
What is Wild Arms?
That's an old JRPG too.
Yeah, that Wild Arms is a PlayStation 1. It's a Western take in a JRPG. I have an affinity for Westerns. I absolutely love them. But it's one of those, like, I want to see like a Final Fantasy VII remake of Wild Arms or Chrono Trigger. I want to, you know what? I'm very good with Blue Point pretty much doing anything. I just want to play it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think for me, it would either be Metal Gear Solid or their own thing, right? You've proved yourself now. You've done amazing jobs with all these games. Now go do your own thing. Fly off, little bird. Fly.
Actually,
and
with the double down.
I don't want to get John's... I was just going to say real quick, I don't want to get John's hopes up too much, but let's also not forget that if I remember correctly, we're coming up on Chrono Trigger's 25th anniversary.
Yeah. That's
this year.
I'm thinking so that was this year. That was March 12th this year.
Yeah.
No, and to double down on the maybe we're getting Silent Hill's concept idea again. What if Blue Point redid Silent Hill 1 and 2?
So, like, you're talking a collab between Blue Point and Kojima Productions?
Yeah. Let's go all in.
If that's announced at the Game Awards, that's...
Yeah, let's just go all in on that one. Blue Point needs a new game. We've got these rumors floating around. Well, why is Silent Hill Silent Hill? We know why it is from the technical limitations from when they were first made. Well, give it to Blue Point, who has took advantage of every technical limitation on the PlayStation 4 and now the 5, and give them Silent Hill.
And I was going to say, like, I trust Blue Point more than anybody on that, but because of, like, the circumstances surrounding the development of Silent Hill 1, I still see it being difficult to some extent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Spicy. Finn, I can feel it. I can feel the spiciness.
John, the night of the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley at the very end says, PT2 on the store, play the demo tonight. I'm calling it.
I will stay up. We will stream it.
No one is sleeping for a variety of reasons.
If we can get it downloaded, if it's announced and we can get it downloaded, we're doing a stream of PT2.
Oh, I'd be down. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, I get me all excited.
Question is Norman Reedus still the main character?
Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah,
I think he'd be down for it. Yeah. So now, to a completely whole other world, John, tell me about your time so far in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Valhalla, I think I'm about 30, 35 hours in. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I didn't know what to expect because I'll be honest, I didn't intentionally skip Odyssey. I just happened to skip Odyssey because before this weird reboot of Origins, I kind of fell off of Assassin's Creed. I've been loving the Assassin's Creeds up to, I think it was Unity that just kind of really kicked me off the Assassin's Creed bandwagon. But it was actually
Unity kicked everyone off.
I was going to say, I think
off hard.
Everyone got kicked off with Unity, which sucks because I actually I wanted to be in that world. But I've actually really, really enjoyed Valhalla. I like the setting. I like that it still feels very contained. It is a long game. Like I said, I think I'm only on like the 6th mission because you can just sidetrack yourself, and which is what I've done, which is fine by me. I got past that little point of grind because I don't mind grinding in a game, but when it comes to the point where you're like, oh, you have to grind, that's when it turns me off. It is if it's natural and it keeps moving everything forward, I love it. So I think I was in a grind for maybe 2 or 3 hours. I was just randomly doing stuff. But so far, it is... I think right now we can say on the next-gen consoles, these games are gorgeous. Like, the draw distance when you're sinking at a leap of faith point is ridiculous. Like, it's there. There's a mountain in-game, like, 40, 50 miles away, I'm assuming, and I can see it. it is that stuff right there that just completely blows my mind. Combat wise or just control wise, it's fine. It's an Assassin's Creed. It hasn't done anything new at least from Origins. It still feels the same. I like the being able to time my attacks with the shield to kind of do a finisher. I've been to not Valhalla, but Asgard, which I had no idea I was underpowered for, and I was able to get through half of it. And it was just it is so much fun to see just how they're like weaving just the lore into whatever the hell Assassin's Creed actually is.
Yeah, what is it?
What is it? But it has been a blast so far. I was a little hesitant. I knew I was going to jump into it anyway because I hate saying it this way. I needed something to play on my Series X, so I was like, oh, it's going to be Valhalla because I've played every Assassin's Creed on Xbox. And I even tried it on the PlayStation 3, and the first one actually crashed on me. It crashed at the same point every single time. So it was actually Rose who's like, well, isn't it an Xbox game? I'm like, I don't remember. And I went out and bought it on the 360, and I've just stayed there with it. But I am female Eivor. I freaking love her. Like, it's been interesting seeing some of the online going, they don't have a connection to the female Eivor. This isn't what it'd be like. I don't give a shit. I think her voice actor is great. Her voice actress is great. Like, I've heard people complain about her like gruff voice, and I'm like, she's a Viking. She's probably screamed a lot. It's okay.
I really like. I believe how they explain it in this is that the Animus doesn't quite know because there's no record or whatever.
Yes.
If Eivor was male or female, so it just lets you switch between the two at a whim, which I love.
Yeah, it was like at the very beginning. It is like there's two. We can't tell. And you're right. You're like you can't tell. Do you want to go female all the way? Do you want to go male all the way? Or do you want to let the Animus decide? And I let the Animus decide, and I was female Eivor, and I'm like, all right, cool. What really kind of threw me off is when I was staying on that one, when I got to Asgard, the Animus flips you. And so it remembers the memories as male Eivor.
Huh.
And that actually was like, I don't like this. So I actually just turned on female all the way from that point on. I was like, I'll just stay as female Eivor because I've got this affinity. I've got this connection with the female Eivor, and I'm doing all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm flipped and I'm like, oh, I'm still Eivor, but it doesn't feel right. So I flipped it back to just being, I'll always be female Eivor on it.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird, though, to see being Asgard, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but Thor is not blonde, guys. I thought Thor was blonde. I blame the MCU for that, but he's not in this game.
I think it's just a general perception of the Nordic person as well being blonde.
Loki is
but
bald.
that would definitely mess me up.
Oh yeah, Loki is bald with a beard and like a very grumbly voice, and he's not like suave. It's like what is happening?
No, that I can definitely see.
You're surprised by that, John?
Yeah, I'm not into the. Well, I don't know very much about the Viking lore or the Nordic lore or anything like that.
Well, I was just gonna say, not the first game to have done that.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking about a specific game from 2018.
Yes.
Okay, I just caught up with you guys. Okay.
If we're talking about, because that one threw me for a trip, too, because I was like, wait, what just happened? All right, cool.
I was like, is he referencing some obscure JRPG? Yeah. No, that's funny. Yeah, but mythology is something that I love. That Assassin's Creed has gone this direction, right? Mm-hmm. I've talked before, but Assassin's Creed isn't in the place I specifically wanted to be, but there are some things that I love that they've done and how they've changed up the formula. I really love to hear that Assassin's Creed is in the position where it's the next gen showpiece again. Because I remember with the PS4, the first game I played was Black Flag, and I loved that, and that was a great first game to go into. And so I'm glad it sort of fills that gap as well with the Series X.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. But no, I think it was someone in your chat, John, that was like, yeah, I'm going to get to Valhalla, but I'm going to go through Origins and Odyssey first. And I was like, no, what are you doing, you mad person?
Yeah,
just go to Valhalla.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. They're like, yeah, I want to go 1, 2, 3. I'm like, You don't really have to, because, like I said, I never played Odyssey. I'm going to go back and play it. But it actually really did a good job filling in the gaps and probably spoiling things for Odyssey for me. But it's one of those, kind of like what The Witcher 3 did when you at the very beginning of the game, when you get to a point where you're like, oh, what'd you do? And it kind of backfilled you of what you missed if you skipped Witcher 1 and 2. And it's the same thing with Odyssey, because I know there's little nods to Origins, because I remember Origins because I recently beat it. But I like what they've done is, like, when I go back into the real world where I'm not, and I get pulled out of the Animus and shit is going insane, and there's just these nice little nods, and they actually like fill you in, and we're like, oh, this is what happened, or how it's connected to the original Assassin's Creeds with Ezio and Connor and Altair. It's been pretty good, actually.
And so a quick question with this game. How much assassinating is there in this Assassin's Creed game?
Very little to none.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Yeah,
so my tweet was accurate.
Yeah, like, you don't have, like, if it was not called Assassin's Creed, it would be fine. If it was called Raid with Your Friends, it'd still be a great game.
I really want Odyssey to be called Mercenaries Creed. That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. Yeah.
Because from what I have seen of this game, like, there is more using battering rams and breaking loudly into places than there is in Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game about war.
Yeah.
I can say I've used a battering ram once, but I have raided and screamed my head off multiple times. Like, I like the idea that I'm able to. I've actually done more sneaking in this game than most Assassin's Creed, because it just depends on what happens. I'll go guns ablaze, or if I screw up and someone catches me, I have to go guns ablaze. But there are some times when, like, assessing the situation, you're like, okay, I do kind of need to sneak in. And my weapon of choice, weirdly enough, has been my bow and arrow. Like, not even my axe.
The least Viking of all the weapons, probably.
I'm pretty sure I've got, if they could break down kill count for, like, the hidden blade, the axe, and the bow and arrow, I know I am like 2 to 3 times more on the bow and arrow.
Yeah. One of the things I really loved what I played of Odyssey, and I'm never going to finish that game. I got like 20 or 30 hours in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my friend who's playing Valhalla, who had the similar experience with Odyssey where he never finished it, he was like, I'm really enjoying Valhalla, and I'm reasonably confident that I'm going to finish Valhalla, whereas I didn't with Odyssey. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like you're not going to get bored with any sort of repetition that tends to be a staple of Ubisoft open world stuff?
I'm always afraid of that, and that's just not Ubisoft. That's every game.
I guess, yeah. But Ubisoft are the kings of the repetitive open world. Yeah.
No, actually, it's been nice. Like, anytime that I have kind of like, all right, I'm starting to get that inkling of boredom, because I'm very happy that it's not like the same mission over and over. They're like, or the fetch quest or anything like that. There's never been anything of repetitive motion, so that's been very nice. Mm-hmm. But anytime I'm like, I like being able to just open up the world map as I'm running toward, or riding toward, or sailing toward the main mission, going, oh, what the hell is that? Oh, let me go take a look at that real fast, and not really knowing what I'm walking in on, whether it's like a glitch in the Animus, or like learning. They're called books of knowledge, and they're like finisher moves that you can do, or just finding new gear and stuff like that. So it's been a nice balance of, I think I'm getting a little bored. Okay, let me change it up and get away from doing the main story and actually even focus on being an assassin, because they actually have a full-on page in the start menu, or in your pause menu, about being an assassin and who you need to go after to be an assassin. And I hate myself that I'm probably going to clear out that page, because apparently that's the only way I can get Thor's hammer. That's the only way I can get Mjolnir.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit of a grind for me, but I'm okay with doing that one, because at least I'm enjoying the game, and that's what, at the end of the day, that's what counts.
And so a quick question, just because I know you have finished Ghost of Tsushima.
No, I haven't.
Which game have you? Oh, you haven't?
No, I have not finished. Oh. And to be honest, we were streaming it on Discord just so people could watch it, because it's fun. We can hang out with people. No, weirdly enough, I fell off of it because we got busy here at home, and then Finn and I played Playhouse Live. So that actually took away. So we're actually trying, like we're working on actually.
I'm sorry, I guess.
That's kind of well. I'm sorry too. We're getting people like, hey, are you ever going to finish Ghost of Tsushima? And Zach, my brother or my sister's boyfriend, he wants to play because he knows I have it. We can do the co-op stuff together.
Legends, is it?
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah,
I still haven't started that actually.
Yeah, he really wants me to play that with him, so I have to figure out a way to get back into that. But no, I think I just started the second act of Ghost of Tsushima. I was riding around like a madman just doing shit on that game because I was just so much fun.
I finished the last 2 acts of that game in the week before the PS5 launched. Like, that was my goal. Like, I went from being at the start of Act 2 to platinuming that game in a week before the PS5 came out.
Nice.
Very nice.
I think oh man, there isn't much time left before the Game Awards because I was going to say you need to do your best to finish it before the Game Awards.
I have very little time. I am not finishing that game before the Game Awards.
Yeah, it's not the coming Thursday, but the Thursday after.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, man, because that game just overall. But either way, I was going to ask, which game have you done more sneaking in, Ghost of Tsushima or Valhalla?
Oh, I can tell you right now, it's Ghost of Tsushima. Even not finishing that game. Okay. Yeah, I can tell you, I've done more sneaking in Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima, the Japanese Assassin's Creed game we all wanted.
Yep, exactly.
That's true.
That is 100% correct.
Yeah. Cool. I'll be excited to hear your thoughts when you finish that game. It's something I want to play before we have our Game of the Year discussions. Yeah. Is Valhalla. It's just a time thing, but we'll see. I've heard up to 100 hours, but it doesn't have to be. So it just depends on whether I feel it's worth it to explore the full range of the world or not. So yeah, before we move on, I want to give a quick, and I'll make this very quick shout out to Tetris Effect Connected. This is a free update for Xbox and Xbox Games Pass on PC, people who had Tetris Effect. It will come to other platforms later, I think, this update. I mentioned before to you, Tim, when we were talking about it, I don't think that the episode actually came out where I talked about it, but I talked about Tetris Effect is a great single-player Tetris game. But it had elements of online connectivity and like alluding to multiplayer, but never actually having the functionality.
Yeah.
And Connected is the update that adds all that stuff, and it all makes sense now. And so there is a huge amount of multiplayer modes, ranging from, just straight up Battle Tetris, which is always great. And I mentioned when we were playing it on the Next Gen launch stream on the Twitch channel, I had never actually played any Battle Tetris before because my first Tetris was on the Game Boy. No one else I knew had a Game Boy and Tetris and was any good at it, so I didn't have it then. I guess Tetris 99, but that's like a whole different type of kettle of fish. So like this is the first time I was able to battle one-on-one Tetris people online, and it was super, super satisfying. I'm better at Tetris than I thought. Still not the best. There are people who are just faster than me, but it was cool. But beyond that, like that in itself is worthy of an update because that's just addictive and fun to do. But there are so many different other modes. You can play like a classic mode, which uses the NES Game Boy rule set, which is much more unforgiving than modern Tetris, and you can battle Tetris people that way. That version is what you would have seen if you watched like competitive Tetris on Twitch or at tournaments or anything. So that's fun, and it has like an NES skin, and it's super, super nice. But there are other things that take advantage of the weirdness of Tetris Effect. The connected mode is you pairing with a team of 2 other people, and you're like fighting this AI boss. And at times when you clear lines to fill up a meter, and when the meter's filled, your boards combine into one giant, very wide Tetris board. And so like you're then working together to try and get as many lines as possible when you're all playing the same board, which is something that's never been done and is very cool. And especially when you have no voice chat It actually does have in-game voice chat. I just haven't used it. But you're like trying to communicate by like flipping your Tetris pieces in weird ways that would indicate like go over here, and that's been super super fun. They've also added in a mode in like they do like seasonal stuff. So they added in a mode where you can play as the boss in that connected mode, which is also fun, like messing with people. And they're just there are weird things that Tetris Effect does. I don't think Tetris ever gets boring. It's just one of those games that you could play on a desert island forever and you'd die happy. But at high level Tetris, it can get repetitive. And what I will say is that the thing that Tetris Effect and this connected update is really, really good at is using its weirdness to force you to play Tetris in unconventional ways. So the boss I mentioned before, when it fills up its meter, it will give you like a debuff or like some obstacle you have to overcome. Like one of the examples is Petrominos, where instead of blocks of 4, your Tetris pieces are now blocks of 5. And that's just not meant to happen. So you have to adapt and figure out in that way. Or there are other things where it's like, I'm just going to drop some line pieces at random places and you're just going to have to figure that out. Or there are other modes where like it squeezes the Tetris board down so you can only play in like a finite segment. Or there are other bits where it like flips your Tetris board on its side. It's just the weirdest, coolest thing. And I love... one of the things I love most in recent years of gaming is this sort of idea that people have grown up playing the games that I played growing up, and have loved them, and have gotten into the industry, and have made the versions of those that they wanted to make. Like, for example, Crash 4 is... people who grew up playing Crash, they made the best Crash game, knowing what they knew, playing that when they were younger. And Tetris Effect feels like their version of that. They grew up playing Tetris and they've now done their own weird ideas and gone their own way with it. And it's just the best. I don't think I'll ever stop playing. I think this might be the ultimate version of Tetris out there that you can buy. So I don't think I'll ever stop playing this game. Super, super good. The only thing I haven't done is play it in VR, which I when I get a VR headset, that's probably the first thing I'm going to try, because I've heard that's wild. But no, yeah. Just wanted to give a shout out to that. Super, super good.
And so a quick question, calling back to a older conversation this podcast. How upset will you be if you get your PS5, you get Tetris Effect on your PS5, you go over to it in the menu and there's just no music, no sound, no nothing?
Dude, that soundtrack is on another level. And especially that title theme, Connected, should be the theme they use for what you said in the PS5 UI. And if they don't, gonna write a tweet about it, gonna tag the developers. It has to happen.
I'm very close to buying it right now just to find out. But yeah, that soundtrack is absolutely amazing. I bought the 5 vinyl set for it.
Yeah, I want that vinyl because they're all multicolored.
Oh my god, it is so good.
Really, really nice. But yeah, Tetris is one of those games that I will... it's a hill I die on. It's the best game of all time is Tetris. And what version of that depends on like what you've played. But I think Tetris is the ultimate game, and Tetris Effect Connected is the ultimate version of that game. So shout out. They did a really good job with that. All right. This is my favorite part. All right. Are you guys ready to play a game?
Absolutely.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. So this, I thought, since this is the episode we were going to talk about Bugsnax, I talked before about how much I love the uniqueness of combining these, dumb critters with these like snacks and what combinations they make, especially the names of them. So I thought for this episode, for this game, I'm going to create my own, what I call Gamesnax. And so these are titles of games that I have combined with various snacks in order to make a whole new thing. And so what this game is, I'm going to read you out an altered description of the game snack.
Okay.
And you have to guess what the title is. So I have a few examples here just so we get used to the game. I'm going to use a buzzer system, but since we don't have that, just shout out your names as the buzzer. So, like, if John wants to answer, he just says John, and then I'll go to him. Okay. All right, so here's the first one. Experience the tale of one fish as he tries to flee his vengeful past, traveling upstream with his son as they embark on an epic quest across the seas of Midgard.
John.
Got it. Okay. What is it?
God of War.
That's the game.
Okay, so Tim.
Oh, but we need to do the snack.
Yes.
Fish of War?
I've got it.
Okay, Tim.
It's God of War.
It's God of War.
It.
Got it.
All right.
Look, luckily that was an example, not worth any points.
Okay.
So, all right. I'm going to give you one more example here just to make sure we got it. Okay, so this classic game snack is too fast to see with the naked eye. If you can catch it, it would pair well with a good gin.
Tim.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tonic the Hedgehog.
Yes! Tim knows this game.
Gin and tonic. Okay, yeah, I follow. I was like, I couldn't. I was like, what goes with gin? I only drink whiskey.
And you want to know what the best part about that is?
Uh-huh.
I've not had a drop of alcohol in my life.
I hate gin. Gin is disgusting. But for the purposes of this, Tonic the Hedgehog was the only thing that came to mind for that. Okay, so now we'll get into the actual game. I had so much fun making these. All right. So, number 1. In this sci-fi jungle, use whatever weapons you have at your disposal to hunt a vast array of robot shrimp.
John,
go.
Horizon Zero Prawn.
Yes! Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm more loving this game.
God, all right.
It's all just puns. It's great.
It's not all puns, but I will warn you, it's mostly puns. All right, here's the next one. John is up by a point. This highly addictive twin stick game snack from the good folks at Housemarque will leave you with a refreshing minty aftertaste.
Oh, Housemarque. I know that name, and now I can't remember any games they've made.
Oh, that's the dead giveaway if you know Housemarque.
Oh, hold on.
I'm gonna leave it another. Oh, is John close?
Hold on. I'm thinking. I know Housemarque. I know him. Crap. Read the description one more time.
This highly addictive twin-stick game snack from the good folks at Housemarque will leave you with a refreshing, minty aftertaste. I'll give you another hint. I've mentioned the game, I think, once on this podcast.
I know what game you're talking about. I'm trying to remember the. I don't know where the pun is.
All right, I'm gonna call this one. All right, none of you are gonna get it. This is obviously Rezo Gum.
Gum. Ah.
Oh, okay.
I knew it was Rezo Gun, but I was like, where does the mint fall into that Rezo Gum? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So nobody gets a point there. Next one. This laid-back country life RPG, cooked up by a single man, lets you play out relationships, while back at home you make a living by farming various brightly coloured energy drinks, often favoured by gamers.
Tim.
Yeah.
Mountain Dew Valley.
Yes.
Damn it, that's good.
Oh, I really like that one. Okay. This is where it starts to get a little ridiculous, I know. Okay. This one. Explore the Wild West as an outlaw dessert dish as he embarks on a quest to save his sweet, sweet family. Despite appearances, this game snack is both fine and rich. This is probably the most difficult one.
John.
Go.
Red Velvet Cake. Redemption?
Yeah, okay. I just had Red Velvet Redemption, but you got it.
Okay, I was like, hold on. I know what you... Okay, cool. Yes!
So it's currently 2-1, John. This one is my favourite. Okay. In this narrative-heavy game snack, you explore your family home and uncover the stories of your long-lost ancestors. All of this in the hopes that you can find the infamous family recipe for shepherd's pie you taste at once. I'm going to ask at this point, does anyone know what game I'm even talking about?
without giving anything away, is it a semi-walking sim?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know what it is then.
I think I know what game it is.
Oh, okay. John, do you know the title?
Of what you're trying to, the game we're playing?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Are you fine with like just getting the title of the game for now? I'm fine with saying it because I can't think of how it would relate.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Is it
right.
What Remains of Edith Finch?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so for this one, I said What Remains of Edith Mintz.
Oh, come on!
Oh.
Damn, that's good.
Well, and that's also so. And I was worried about this happening. That's actually really hard for me and John to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, mince pie.
I tried to make it obvious. That was the one.
But specifically because of cultural differences.
Right. There's another one like that coming up.
And I knew this was going to happen. I knew it.
Right. It only happens with one more, but the rest are pretty universal. All right, so this one. In this multiplayer high-stress game of wits, you must complete tasks on your spaceship while a murderous yellow liquidy dessert hunts you down and tries not to be caught. I'm going to assume you both know the game. Perhaps not.
Okay, hang on. I think I might have this one.
He's getting there. The cogs are turning. The hamster's turning in his brain.
So, Tim.
Yeah.
Is it Among Custard?
Yes.
Damn it! I thought it was Among Us. I was like, what? Nice. Nice.
It's what I love about this game is it's partly figuring out what the game is and partly trying to get into my weird brain.
I'm glad I cook and I'm glad I watch Sorted Food so that I at least have some exposure to British cooking. Also, if you're a Doctor Who fan.
Oh, custard's a thing over here.
So custard's a thing, but I will say more often than not, what Americans eat is frozen custard.
Yeah.
Which even then they still call ice cream.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one. In this sequel to the beautifully designed Metroidvania, the titular spirit must use their platforming skills once again. They must go in search of as many bags of delicious salty snacks as they can find, reuniting the Pringles family once again.
Tim?
Yeah?
Ori and the Will of the Crisps?
Yes! That was the other cultural one that I wasn't sure you get. Because you guys say chips.
Yeah.
Which is wrong, because we have chips already. It's already a thing. Alright. This one I love as well. God, I love all these. I'm so fucking hilarious. In this classic indie darling, platforming takes on a whole new dimension as levels can rotate. Once the player reaches the top, they can press down on the head of their favourite cartoon character. Go.
Pez.
Okay, yeah, I said Fez Dispenser, but I'm going to give you that because you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, I knew it was Fez. I was like, where does it go, though? Okay, that's fair.
Tim is currently 4-2 up on John.
Okay.
There are 2 left, and you can tie, but I have a tiebreaker in the case of... Oh, no, I didn't write a description for that. Okay, this might be... I might have to very quickly make one up. Okay, so...
Seat of your pants. Let's go.
Yeah. So this one. After countless experiments and years of being caged in a lab, one fruit just can't take it anymore. Breaking out using only their fists... Okay.
Grape Escape.
No!
Tim.
But you're so close.
Oh, I know
Go.
what it is. Damn it.
Crash Bandicoot.
No!
John. Grape Out.
Yes. Yes. That was intense. I didn't realize there were so many variations of that. If you had let me keep reading, I would have gotten to the part with the jazz soundtrack, and that would have been a dead giveaway.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so John can tie it up here with this last one, which I'm hoping to not happen. Alright, this one, okay. Featuring potatoes from all corners of the industry, this brawler boasts the greatest crossover in both video games and starch-based vegetables alike. Go.
Super Mash Bros.
Yes, Tim wins it.
Damn it.
I was hoping you'd get that one. I have a bunch of unused ones. I don't know if you guys care to hear them.
I want to hear them. I want to hear them, yeah.
All right, okay. The tiebreaker was going to be, and I forgot to write descriptions of this one, was Assassin's Mead.
Ooh.
But the other ones that I didn't write descriptions for, let's see, I have a list here. Resident Key Weevil, The Elder Scrolls V Pyram, What was the other one? Octopus Traveler. Ultimate Chicken Wing Horse, Little Fig Planet, Jack in the Box Party Pack, and Meat Fighter. I had a blast thinking these up. I don't know. That was just too much for me. But I liked that the game worked as intended, because I wasn't sure if you guys were going to get any of them and figure out what weird way I was going to take it.
That was good.
That was fun.
That.
Tim, you're the winner. Congrats to you, sir. You're the king of Gamesnax. So now it's time to move on to our last segment of the show, where instead of talking about what games we have played, we look forward to the games that are coming out in this coming month. This month is December, so we're going to go through each game of note that's coming out this month. I'm going to add a stipulation here.
Okay.
I've shown both you guys the list, and you have it there in front of you. So when it comes to a game that you want to give a particular shout out to, you can say, I'm going to give this game a nod. Just really put it up on the platform there. You want people to notice this game.
Okay.
So let's start. On the 1st of December, we have Empire of Sin. And this, for me, is going to be... This gets the nod from me. This is a game I've been excited for a long time. If you don't know, this is by the Romero games, meaning John Romero, the original designer of the OG Doom. This is his studio, and they're working with Paradox to make this grand strategy Chicago during Prohibition Mafia game. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like it's got XCOM elements when you're like in that battle, and so yeah, it's more like tactics. But the thing I love about this is it's maybe too ambitious, but it's attempting to go all the way down to that level with the combat, but also like zoom away the scope and make this big grand strategy sort of akin to something like a Civ or a Crusader Kings or something like that. And so it's going to be this game where you are hopefully allowed to micromanage every element of your criminal empire. I'm super excited to get my hands on this game when it comes out, because I've been interested in it for a long time. And also on the 1st, we have Worms Rumble. Has anyone seen this game? The trailers, yeah. This is also this month's PS Plus game, by the way.
I've heard about it, and honestly, I don't even want to download it as a PS Plus game.
No, dude, this is going to be ass. As someone who loves the Worm series, this is going to be a terrible game.
Same. I'm from that exact same perspective. I have been playing Worms since Worms Armageddon on the PC years ago.
Yeah, dude.
And
this is just not Worms. It's just not.
It's not. It is just trying to buy in on the trendiness of battle royales with the Worms property, which is another reason I hate battle royales right now, is because they're so popular that it pollutes and corrupts other franchises.
Right. Sort of how years ago when Hearthstone was big, everyone tried to make everything a card game. But
yeah, and kind of like how I still blame which one was it? Was San Andreas? I think it is that I blame for like the change in the Jack and Daxter series.
Mm-hmm. This is a quick aside. I don't want this to turn into a big argument because it very easily can. But I was listening to an old Kind of Funny Games cast, and they were talking about their gaming hot takes. And one of the hosts, Jared Petty, his hot take was that Halo 1 was so popular that it ruined shooters for years. And I think it's such an interesting point, where a game can be so popular that it just stagnates the genre because everything is trying to copy it. And I never thought of Halo in that category where it's like the Fortnite of its age, but it kind of was.
Yeah, I follow that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play enough first-person shooters at the time, but maybe that's also part of the reason, is because I had played Halo at my cousin's house, and I was like, man, Halo's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's the point where, like, what you think about old shooters, like PC shooters, and like 64-bit, 32-bit stuff, like, shooters were so innovative, and they were all trying these weird different things, and Halo just standardized it. To the point where I think we're only now breaking free of it, and people are like realizing how good Doom was, and we're like, let's try weird shit with shooters again.
The only point that I could argue against that, the only point, is that I could argue that it was not Doom, or no, that it was not Halo, but that it was Half-Life.
Half-Life's another good shout. Yeah. That could definitely be the reason as well. I definitely don't think it was COD. I think COD was in the cultural zeitgeist after Halo.
Yeah, like COD was at the time much more just like a historical first-person shooter.
Yeah. So on the second then, the day after, we have, and if I could give a second nod, I'd give it to this Sam and Max Save the World Remastered. I just love when classic properties get this sort of look over again, get remastered, build up to whatever new game is coming out. Sam and Max is a game I never actually played, so I might pick up this remaster.
I will say, like, I'll pay attention to it, but I don't know that I'll get it right off the bat because I never played the original Sam and Max games either.
Yeah. On the third is Haven, which is another game I've been looking at for a long time. Played the demo a few times. I'm interested in this game because there are aspects I think could be very well done, but I'm not convinced that it's overall going to be a good game yet. But I've only played a little bit of it. It's the horniness that I like in a weird way, and I'll explain what I mean by that, because that could very easily be taken out of context. From what I played in the demo, the interaction between the two main characters, especially when you're in the nest, which is their like space home, and like just like whether you're sitting down and eating a meal or just hanging out watching TV or whatever, those little dialogue interactions are the best part of the game, I think. And I would love to see their whole dynamic play out in the full game. And movement, when you're outside the ship, movement is nice and fluid and it's cool. It's the combat where I'm not convinced, where they try to do this thing where sort of reminds me of JRPG, like you're in a party and you're all attacking these other like enemies, but it's done in real time.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the UI, how it looks like it would be mapped to your D-pad and your face buttons.
Yeah, and it was a bit much for me to grasp when I played the demo a few times, but maybe that will start to make more sense to me in the full game, but who knows? Yeah,
it might be one of those things of just having to adjust to it with experience.
Mm-hmm. Also on the third then, Immortals Phoenix Rising. The third AAA Ubisoft to come out this quarter.
So what was coming out after that?
What do you mean?
I just mean I don't know that any of us have any interest in Immortals.
Oh no, I do.
Point.
Oh god, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, it is starting to skyrocket for me with just the look of it. Like I think there's something actually to this game. The more I dig into it, everyone's gonna be like, oh, it's an Ubisoft game, but at least it's different. At least it's a new IP, and I'm kind of down with that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, in my mind, I have already committed to playing Valhalla, which is an open world RPG by Ubisoft that features heavy mythology elements. And that's what this is also.
Yeah.
And so like I can't play two of them. I just can't. And so
But this is the mythology you like.
I like all mythologies, and Greek, to be fair, is probably my favorite. But I did get a lot of that in Odyssey from what I played of it. And this is by the people who made Odyssey, so it makes sense that they're doing Greek again.
I'm actually going to pick this up.
If it gets like a 90 on Metacritic for whatever reason, I'll probably circle back to it.
I hope it gets a 90 on Metacritic.
I bet you do.
I'm going to pick. I actually do want to pick this up. Let's think. It looks different. I'm down with different. I'm good with trying something new. Odyssey, people really enjoyed. Granted, very big, but people enjoyed. So I'm hoping maybe this is a little more contained. And I don't know. I like the character models of it, and it just, again, it's different. We're in this point of remakes, remasters, and all this stuff, and we kind of tend to push new IPs or just a new idea out of the way right now. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I hate the title. I'll be absolutely honest with that one. I like Gods and Monsters better. That made more sense. I have no idea what Immortals Phoenix, or I hate that spelling. I hate that spelling.
Phoenix.
Yeah. But I'm definitely going to give this one a look just because, again, I'm going to need something on my Xbox, and I'm down with trying something new. Why not?
And for me, like I'm all down for like new IPs. For me, it's just specifically the fact that it's a Ubisoft IP, and I'm like, all right, so what's been like largely successful for Ubisoft in recent years? It's Assassin's Creed and Rainbow Six Siege. Like
and
they
Rayman, but that you can't even call that recent though. Like, where is Rayman? What's he doing?
Yeah, because and so that's my whole thing is like Rayman, I would say, was coming out in an age where people still trusted Ubisoft.
Yeah, I get you.
We're at a point though where like, and Rainbow Six Siege has improved. We all have to remember that when that game released,
it was a dumpster fire.
Yeah. And then they've just absolutely destroyed, The Division and Ghost Recon and Watch Dogs. Like they're driving their properties into the ground. So I hope that this does well and is like a good game, but I'm not expecting much from it at the moment.
John, I get what you were saying about the new IP, but you kept bringing up the word different.
Yeah.
And I'd say if there's one thing that this game is trying its hardest not to be, it's different. This is clearly, if you liked Breath of the Wild, please play this game.
Okay, I'll follow that. Look at Genshin Impact then. Same thing.
Yeah.
So
which I have started playing as of last night because some friends wanted me to get into it.
No, I mean, if you're going to be close to something, why don't you be close to a very beloved concept of a game, which is Breath of the Wild? And fine, and I'm good with that. I mean, I've even seen people look at it going, anyone getting like Kid Icarus feel from it. I'm like, shit, I didn't even think about that. Yes, I do see Kid Icarus in this. So I'm good with that. Why not?
Well, and so you know why I'm all in support of games like kind of taking Breath of the Wild's concepts and iterating on them? Because I've always said to people that I don't think Breath of the Wild is a bad game. I just don't think it was a good Zelda game.
Okay. I get what you're coming, because I'm not a big Zelda person either, but I get where you're coming from, like from terms of how I think about Assassin's Creed in modern times. Yeah.
Like people like Breath of the Wild because it was they're all Zelda fans who also probably played like Skyrim or something else, and like Breath of the Wild took Zelda and then did the things that like Skyrim and those kinds of games wanted to do better than they did.
Yeah. Then on the 8th, we have 2 games releasing. The first of which is Call of the Sea. Does anyone remember this game?
I do.
I looked at some pictures and I remember seeing the trailers for it.
Yeah, this is from the Xbox Game Showcase. Sort of flown under the radar. I forgot it was coming out this month until I made this list. I assume that's coming to Game Pass.
It should be the 8th. It's on. I think I've already pre-downloaded it on my Xbox. This is nice. My pedestal one. I think they're.
Nice. Give it a nod.
This is my nod one because I from the trailer and from just what we can tell from the story, I think it's going to take the idea of. I don't want to say walking sim, but like the puzzle walking sim concept, and kind of just put you in the 1930s, which is something that we don't explore very often, especially when it comes to like games. But I like that we're going to a deserted island, or we're going to go find the lady's husband, which I think it harkens back to those styles of movies back. And when you think of the romanticized concept, the 1930s, where it is you want to go on an adventure, you want to do something, and go and see the world, and it's always onto like a deserted island or anything like that. So I like
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Indiana Jones. I like that idea of that romanticized, stylized version that Call of the Sea has taken. I want to know the puzzles, and it whatever the story is, I actually want to know the story and what the character, what she'll do for her husband to go find him. And that's something I'm married for 10, 11 years. That's something that actually speaks to me on that one. So there's something I like all of that concepts and what this story could be. I hope it's good. I'm not 100% sure it will be, but I think this one might be a dark horse after like Cyberpunk.
So an interesting thing with this one, I don't know about anyone else here, but I don't even remember that much of what I played of the game, but I still, for some reason, have extremely fond memories of it. but this game gives me vibes like Monkey Island.
100%. Yeah. Rose loves Monkey Island, actually. And it's actually one of her favorite games. And I think it's shout out to Limited Run. They're about to release like this giant Monkey Island collection thing. So it looks,
Oh, really?
oh yeah. Oh, dude, that thing looks awesome. And Merry Christmas. She knows she's getting it, so I don't really care. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. Like it does have a very interesting Monkey Island vibe to it. And maybe that's what it's kind of kicking off for me. And I'm like, I bet you this one, I want it to be good because again, I like the idea. I've come to realize I like the walking sim concept of just experiencing a story through the eyes of someone else where I don't have to stab some dude or run away or anything like that. Just give me a solid 6-hour story and that is tight and gives me resolution and I'm down.
Oh yeah. What I was gonna say is, does anyone remember the game that was being made similar to this, but the company got bought by Valve and they cancelled it?
Oh yeah, the guy.
It was Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt. Yeah, that's right. And it was the guys that did Firewatch.
Yeah, damn vibes.
Yeah, I agree.
From this game, John. The one thing I hope from this game is that it's short. If it's over 10 hours, I'm probably gonna dismiss it, and that's like just the way gaming is for me nowadays.
Oh no, and while you're on, that's what I said. Is like I hope this is like a tight 6-hour story experience with some good puzzles, and just let me experience it through the protagonist's eyes and not have to stab anyone or anything like that. Just give me a good 6-hour story.
Man, I'm just imagining this game starts doing puzzles on the level of like The Witness.
Don't say that. I hate that game so much.
I love it.
Oh God.
On that same day, then Puyo Puyo Tetris 2.
So out of all these games, this is probably my like podium game. Like this
gets the nod. Okay.
Yeah. Just because one, there's not a lot in December that's super interesting to me, but I know one I didn't know it was called Puyo Puyo at the time. I always played it as Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine on the Sega Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed that, and it's the same thing as with chess. I will say that I've enjoyed Tetris. I'm not going to say that I'm super good at it, but I've enjoyed Tetris in the past. I've enjoyed Puyo Puyo in the past, and I know that that's like an interesting game that you and I could jam on together, Finn.
Yeah, I would love to match up my Tetris against your Puyo Puyo. I would love to see that happen. That would be a good stream if we can get that going. So yeah, excited for that game. Then the 10th, it's probably the big mama of December. The one we've been waiting on. Hopefully it comes out on the date that we've established on this podcast. On the 10th, Cyberpunk 2077. This is... I still have confidence in this game. I know, Tim, you're a bit cautious nowadays about how this game's going to fare. I think the delays are understandable, especially for the scope that this game seems to be going for. I think that the crunch is obviously terrible, and I wish they had been more transparent and open about it.
And that's what worries me. Delays inherently do not worry me. But when we find out that nearly your entire development cycle has been crunch and you're delaying the game,
yeah,
then we've got some problems.
Mm-hmm. And so I said this last night when we were recording Playhouse Live. I think what's going to be the tale on the day is that this game runs great and it's everything you hoped it would be on PC and the next-gen systems. And on the older systems, it's crap and you shouldn't buy it and it crashes. I can very easily see that happening.
Well, and you have to remember, they aren't... like the versions we're getting on next gen at release at launch are not the next gen versions either.
Yeah, I would say though, reading investor transcripts from investor calls and them, they were pretty adamant about the fact that we started off this game and wanting it to be this gen, but now that we're here, this is like honestly this is a next gen game. They're not bringing out the additions and the enhancements that would take full advantage of the next gen systems, but I think it's still going to be obviously best on the next gen systems. I'm probably primarily for them as well.
And you know what's going to be kind of hilarious to me?
Okay.
When the people that are largely playing this on next gen consoles and not on PC, when they're sitting there playing and they're playing the PS4 version, then the update comes out that pushes the PS5 version onto their system. And then they all of a sudden are just sitting there potentially saying, why does this game run worse now? Like, this patch that like made the game better made it run worse. And it's like, you guys just don't understand the trade-off for graphical fidelity, do you?
So yeah, do we think then, show of hands, do we think after December 10th, when we've all gotten our hands on this bad boy, do we think it meets the hopes and expectations that we had at any point for this game? Because I do. I think this is going to be like one of those Breath of the Wild moments where this game gets talked about for years and years on end.
So I maintain my philosophy of largely neutrality towards this game because there's, I think I've said it before, one of my friends who is now very much not for CD Projekt Red after all that has come out. But before that, he had said something to me years ago when Cyberpunk was first announced along the lines, like I was saying, you know, I haven't seen enough. I can't say that I'm excited for this game. And he said something along the lines of like, well, with CD Projekt Red's track record, and I stopped him right there and I said, what track record? Because The Witcher 1, most people will tell you is terrible at the very least from a gameplay perspective. Witcher 2 is still kind of wonky, and then Witcher 3 is a good game. So, like, with one good game under their belt, I'm not gonna place that kind of faith in them.
Right. It's not like they have this huge long list of like never letting you down.
Right. And even then, like, I'm used to being disappointed by my favorite series, so
I find that interesting, and this is for a completely different topic some other time, would be, didn't we just sing the praises of Bluepoint?
Yeah.
And isn't that the same concept? Like, they've got 2 good games, unless I'm missing one. 2 good games, and granted they're remakes, but 2 good games, and we're like, Bluepoint, you can get whatever the hell you want. And you can go...
So they did Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls, but I'm sure there was one before that, because Bluepoint was still...
Yeah, Bluepoint's been around, I understand that.
Bluepoint has handled quite a bit, from what I know, actually.
But it wasn't always this culture
it wasn't this caliber of stuff. So
so the Uncharted collection is really solid.
I forgot they did that, to be honest. From
everything I've heard, the port/console remake of Gravity Rush was really good. They did like the remasters for like Flower and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They did the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which I can tell you from experience is really solid.
Yeah. And so it sort of was a exponential curve of how much effort they were putting into these things, though. It wasn't always the way it is now.
I'm hyped.
Well, and I just went back actually and replayed. Not replayed. I played for the first time on the collection. I played Uncharted 1.
Yeah,
and like found out 1, Uncharted 1's a really short game. 2, that was a really solidly done remake. Like, yeah, there was still some of that, like, this is a PS3 game kind of jank to it, but like it was nowhere near the levels that I was expecting it to be.
And I get what you're saying about Witcher 3 being like the thing that set the bar for them, and basically there's nothing been at that level before that. But I think The Witcher 3 was such a what's the word I'm looking for? Just like a pole to hit, like a tent pole for them, where they were like, this is what our business model is now. Like, how big that company is and how its whole business model is now focused towards getting a 90 plus on Metacritic. And like, they're publicly traded now, like they're Poland's biggest company, just outright. And so I think...
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
They wouldn't only be... Yeah, they're huge. And like, they wouldn't be. Not only would they be mortified on a personal level, I think, if this game comes out and it doesn't reach all those expectations, but I think that is how they intend to make games now. And I don't think they're trying to slight anyone or sneak any microtransactions in there. I think this game needs to be good based on, if it's good, they will generate money because of it. And if it's anything less than what they expect, it will harm them from a business standpoint for the next decade.
And
so that's why I have confidence.
Sorry, I think for personally too. I mean,
for
how
sure.
they hold themselves in high regard of what they want to do. I think if it doesn't do damn near perfect, I think it's actually going to really mess with them. And granted, that's out. They can only do what they can do as people and developers and all that stuff. But I mean, and then it's all depending on the critics and how they do it. Honestly, as much as like I'm down with the delays and all that stuff, and I'm not the happiest when it comes to the crunch stuff, I'm still hyped for this game. I mean, that's the thing. I honestly, I've pre-ordered this game. I cannot wait. I want to jump in. I want to see how dense it is and what 2 console generations look like from the start point to what we're getting, and everything they're putting into this for an actual living, breathing world.
And I will say, we know that this game is going to do well critically, just because from recent goings on, we know that the industry loves to forget about crunch and award those games.
I'd say only if the games themselves are actually good. I don't think there's an inherent... I get what you mean. Like, when a game comes out and it's good, the crunch tends to be swept under the rug by certain outlets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just hope that we learn this time.
Well, and I just mean like, so regardless of your opinions on The Last of Us 2 as a game, and I love Naughty Dog's work, but Naughty Dog got Studio of the Year from the Golden Joystick.
Right.
When there was a big hubbub about the crunch just before Last of Us 2 came out.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where we have to like get it in our heads. It's not a trade-off. Like, you can't... good games don't have to be made just because of crunch. It doesn't mean that if you... crunch is inherently a failure of management and
right. And I'm fully on the side of the devs with Cyberpunk, but I cannot stand the implications of what this means about CDPR's management. If they were smart, if they wanted to have like big game releases like this where they wanted no compromises on quality, they also need to not market it the way that they've been marketing it. Because I can think of a game that is just as big of a deal, if not a bigger deal than Cyberpunk, by another company that is obsessed with the perfection of its products. And I have not heard jack shit about that game in years. And that's Metroid Prime 4. And
yeah, well, that had the unfortunate thing of being like
fully rebooted,
soft cancelled.
Yeah, full reboot on production. And like, they gave us that update and they haven't said anything since. And like, even though I don't like Bethesda and I don't think they do great in-house development work, I give them props for how they handled Fallout 4, because they announced it and like within a couple months the game was out. Like, I think that is the way that developers need to go, because like, management uses fan expectation as like a barometer for what they need to be doing, and that ends up screwing games over. Whether that's because of crunch or because fan expectations get too high because they're being fed too much content. Like, there's all sorts of bad things that come along with giving your game too much press. And I think the game industry needs to step away from that.
I think it was one of those things as well. And we talked a little bit about this on Playhouse Live last night with IO Interactive getting a license for Project 007. And because Cyberpunk is not a CD Projekt IP, they licensed this IP from another company, much like Witcher. there's something about when those deals are signed and you're working on this licensed IP that you need to announce it right away, either from agreements from the licensor's standpoint or from CD Projekt Red being publicly traded. They'll want to get that out as soon as possible so the stock price goes up and people know that they're like in partnership with this IP. And so, yeah, I feel like that did have a negative impact. Again, we talk about the meme on the announcement trailer, that initial teaser trailer, and the comment that says all the things that have happened since that teaser trailer 7 years ago. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, it does make us, and we're not always great as a community, we know that already, but it does make us go like, where is Cyberpunk? When's it coming out? Why can't I play it now? With the Cyberpunk and such. But yeah, I think that if we were able to have that thing where we just know that a studio is chugging along in the background, and then when it's nearly finished, we get that like marketing cycle to start from there, that would, I think, have maybe a minor to major impact on crunch, perhaps. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, so look out for that game. That's definitely going to be the big talking point in that month. But
one last thing about that real quick too. It's the only thing that makes me want to buy the game at the moment, though it's not a good enough reason for me to actually get it. Do you know what comes with Cyberpunk?
Don't they have like a bunch of neat stuff that would normally be in a collector's edition?
They are. So the one thing I've heard of, at the very least, is they are apparently including a player's handbook, like a manual, essentially for the actual like tabletop RPG Cyberpunk.
Huh. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, sort of things that came like maps and like player guides and stuff is the thing that sort of died this generation.
Yeah.
I remember Red Dead was the last one where I remember opening it up and getting a map. But I got the special edition, so I don't know if that was there with the standard.
Dude, I just from your comment, I think I'm not alone on this. I miss game manuals.
Yeah, they were cool. I very rarely read them, but I liked them being there.
Yeah, I collected a couple of them. Now I just collect the video game art books, and then Breath of the Wild this special edition came with a map.
Nice. And so we turn to the last big release of this year on the 11th. We're nearly there, guys. Probably a game that the three of us at least won't play is Medal of Honor Above and Beyond.
If I could give a second nod, it'd be to this one.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
Respawn. That's all I'm going to say. Respawn's doing this game. They now have that track record of at least, all right, let's shut up and listen and see what they're going to do.
Uh-huh.
And so if it still comes down to EA just stays away from it, let Respawn do what Respawn does and goes to town, I can see it being a really good game. Like we were talking about this last night. Star Wars Squadrons and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, absolutely fantastic games. Apex, great. Titanfall 1 and 2. Titanfall 1 and 2 and Apex.
2 especially.
Oh yeah, Titanfall 2 especially. Titanfall 1 was that we're going to try something. And it actually kind of works. Now we need to refine it to Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 and Apex and I said this last night, some of the only FPSs I will like legitimately jump in and go, if our friends are like, hey, we're going to play again. It's been a while. All right, I'll jump in. So because
I might play Apex more if Titanfall 2 hadn't ruined Apex for me.
Sure. But yeah, just because it's Respawn alone, that jumped on my radar. Because I've seen the game. I knew about it, but I never dug into it until we got our list today. And I was like, okay, we're going to talk about it. Holy shit, it's Respawn. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be a little check mark next to John's list of, let me double check something. And let me keep an eye out on it just because of Respawn's track record.
And now that I think about it, it's actually interesting to think about what this game will do, because like this will be Respawn's first like foray into VR.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking with Tim about this game while we were waiting for John to join the call, and I mentioned that we were reacting to this in Gamescom and they were talking about Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, and we were like semi freaking out. We were like, yeah, Medal of Honor, where's that been? All right, here we go. And then they started talking about VR stuff, and we were like, oh. And I feel like that's going to be, like, I bet this is going to be a really good game. I think it's just going to get the Half-Life Alyx treatment, where it's going to be really good and no one's going to know about it, and it's not going to get
I
half the
literally
love and
haven't
attention
heard
it
anything
deserves.
about Half-Life Alyx even to this day.
Yeah. And the only things I've heard is that it's really, really good, and if I ever get a VR headset, it'll be one of the first games I hopefully play. And I feel like, yeah, it's just one of those things where more of these big games need to come out before VR is really, truly accepted from the mass market. But for the time being, I guess it's just going to go under the radar for a lot of people. But I hope this game's really good.
Yeah.
And hopefully a great way to cap off the year. So yeah, that's what we're looking forward to in December. And yeah, that's been this episode of Playdate. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, John and Tim, for joining me for this episode and participating in my dumb Gamesnax game.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we will be back with another one of these next month. We will be in a whole new year then. God knows what will happen in the meantime. But yeah, you can keep up with us at entertheplayhouse.com, Twitter at enterplayhouse. You can find our YouTube channel for all of our video content. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is also available as a podcast if you want to listen to it in your car or while you're on the treadmill or while you're, chasing dogs. I don't know what you're doing with your life. It's up to you. So yeah, we'll be back with another one of these in January. Until then, we will see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.